Roll call. Day 28, February 17th. Anderson? Here. Baldwin? Baldwin? Here. Barlow? Beitman? Here. Boner? Here. Bouchard? Here. Brennan? Here. Case? Present. Cooper? Here. Dockstetter? Here. Ellis? Present. French? Here. Murphy? Here. Guru? Here. Hicks? Excuse. Hutchings? Here. Ide? Here. Jones? Kinski? Here. Kolb? Present. Landon? Here. Larson? Here. McEwen? Here. Nethercott? Pappas? Pappas? Here. Rothfuss? Here. Salazar? Here. Schuler? Here. Scott? Here. Steinmetz? Excused? Barlow? Excused? Mr. President? Here. Excused? Barlow? Excused. And Hicks is excused? President Driscoll, present. 28 present, 3 excused.
Prayer by Father Joseph Collins, Holy Apostles Orthodox Church in Cheyenne.
Before I pray, Mr. President, thank you for having me here this week. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve the Senate of our great state and to have gotten to know a few of you a little bit better. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the dignity with which you serve our state, and may God bless your endeavors. With that, let us pray to the Lord. Lord Almighty and merciful, we bow our heads in thanksgiving for the wealth of blessings seen and unseen that you give to us. We ask you to remember in kindness all of our fellow statesmen, our fellow Americans who at all times have offered and continue to offer their lives in defense of their families, their neighbors, their country, and the sacred precepts of liberty and justice upon which our country has been founded. We beseech you to bless the work of these senators and the delegates of this legislature who have come together to carry forward the work of our democratic republic and its institutions. Remember now your servants, Governor Gordon, the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, those here present and those absent with good cause, the staff that make it possible, and the people of Wyoming. Give them at all times, and especially to our senators and other legislators, wisdom from above, a dedication to justice and righteousness, clear knowledge of the truth and a willingness to stand by it, wisdom and a willingness to listen, a willingness to do that which is good and right, rather than that which is profitable to self. And above all, give to them love, love for our state, our nation, and its people, friend and foe alike, in order that we might enjoy enduring freedom and the grace that comes from doing that which is good. Bless their families and their loved ones, and guide them to fulfill the duties of the sacred office in a way that is pleasing to you, for the good of our nation, and for the peace and happiness of the world, and for the glory of your all-holy name. For yours is the dominion, the power, and the glory of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
I have a little gift for you. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance, Senator Jones.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading, correction, approval of journal.
Mr. President, your Journal Committee reports that the Journal of February 16, 2023 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Senator Larson, Chairman.
Heard the report. Are there any objections? Being none, the report is adopted. Doctor of the day is Allison Barnett, physician's assistant from Douglas. Welcome, Allison. Thank you very much. Today in Wyoming history. In 1870, Esther Hobart Morris was officially appointed Justice of the Peace. First one in the United States. Pretty interesting. Quote for the day: it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. Anybody know who said it? Charles Darwin. So Monday, you guys get a day off. Our majority floor leader did a great job bringing us in. If we do an expeditious, fast day, maybe we can be out of here and home pretty fast. Signing of enrolled acts. Senate Enrolled Act number 37, originally Senate File 71.
Senate Enrolled Act number 37, being original Senate File 71, State Loan and Bond Programs, an act relating to state public purpose investments.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 37, originally being House or Senate File 71. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 27, originally House Bill number 86.
House Enrolled Act number 27, being original House Bill 86, Disclosure of Private Cryptographic Keys, an act relating to digital assets.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 27, originally House Bill 86. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 28, originally House Bill number 57.
House Enrolled Act number 28, being original House Bill 57, Armed Forces Amendments, an act relating to defense forces and affairs.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 28, originally being House Bill 57. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 29, originally House Bill number 15.
House Enrolled Act number 29, being original House Bill 15, County Authority to Dissolve Museum Board's Clarifications, an act relating to counties.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 29, originally being House Bill 15. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 30, originally being House Bill number 5.
House Enrolled Act number 30, being original House Bill 5, Voter Registry List, Voter ID, and Absentee Ballots, an act relating to elections.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 30, originally being House Bill number 5. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 31, originally being House Bill 239.
House Enrolled Act 31, being original House Bill 239, Vehicle Idling, Decriminalization, an act relating to motor vehicles.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 31, originally being House Bill 239. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 32, originally House Bill 142.
House Enrolled Act number 32, being original House Bill 142, Notice of Annexation, an act relating to cities and towns.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 32, originally being House Bill 142. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act 33, originally being House Bill 106.
House Enrolled Act number 33, being original House Bill 106, eminent domain wind energy collection systems, an act relating to eminent domain.
I am about to sign House Enrolled Act 33, originally House Bill 106. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 34, originally House Bill 41.
House Enrolled Act number 34, being original House Bill 41, lightweight trailers, permanent registration, an act relating to motor vehicles.
I'm about to sign House Enrolled Act number 34, originally being House Bill 41. I have so signed. Concurrences, do we have? What? Senator Case, if you're ready on message number 372, requesting conference on Senate File 43, I will have that read in.
Mr. President.
Message number 372, referencing Senate File 43, EMS districts.
Mr. President, I would move message number 372, the concurrence request for Senate File 43 EMS districts, and I'd ask my friends in the Senate to vote aye. Our friends down the hall added 2 amendments, which I think strengthen the bill. The first is a requirement that the District Board of Directors seek to have first case payment by any available source, including Medicaid, Medicare, and private insurance, and before they use district funds for any type of EMS services. Secondly, Mr. President, they added a requirement that the board report to the county commissioners about their efforts to recover funds from other sources. I think this is already part of their budgetary obligations, but it doesn't hurt the bill at all. And I thank our good friends for the work. I ask you to vote aye.
Motion is the Senate do confer on Senate File 43 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Senate File 43, concurrence roll call vote. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Whitman? No. Boner? No. Bouchard? No. Brennan? Aye. Case?
Aye.
Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? No. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz excused. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Concurrence on Senate File 43. 20 aye, 10 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 43. Senator Scott, if you're ready on message number 354, requesting conference on Senate File 51, I will have that read in. Is that a mistake?
Message number 354, referencing Senate File 51, school finance, regional
Oh, I'm
cost
sorry.
adjustment.
My bad.
We did that yesterday.
We did, and that's what I thought. We need the conference committee. All right, so the conference committee will be Scott, chairman, Ellis, and Landon. Joint conference committee reports? Don't have any, okay. No standing committee reports.
February 16, 2023. Mr. President, your committee number 2, appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 89 engrossed, state investment returns, adequate reserve funding, respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass amended. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Giroux, Kinski, Nethercott, and Salazar. Senator Kinski, chairman. Mr. President, committee number 6, travel, recreation, wildlife, and cultural resources, to whom is referred House Bill 123, collection of antler or horns by residents and non-residents, respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass amended. Ayes, Senators Baldwin, Ellis, Giroux, Jones, and Schuler. Senator Schuler, chairman. Mr. President, committee number 6, travel, recreation, wildlife, and cultural resources, to whom is referred House Bill 276 engrossed, shed antlers and horns conservation stamp. Respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass amended. Ayes, Senators Baldwin, Ellis, Giroux, Jones, and Schuler. Senator Schuler, chairman. Mr. President, committee number 7, corporations, elections, and political subdivisions, to whom is referred House Bill 144 engrossed, senior citizen district programs and services. Respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass amended. Ayes, Senators Barlow, Boner, Case, Landon, and Scott. Senator Landon, chairman. Mr. President, committee number 2, appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 59 engrossed, Wyoming National Guard tuition benefits. Respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Giroux, Kinski, Nethercott, and Salazar. Senator Kinski, chairman. Mr. President, committee number 2, appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 38 engrossed, Wyoming National Guard member referral. Respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Giroux, Kinski, Nethercott, and Salazar. Senator Kinski, chairman.
Thank you, Randy. These volunteer firefighters we got sitting up here? Where are you from?
Laramie County Fire Authority.
Welcome, Laramie County Fire Authority. Thank you, guys. We're proud to have you here. What? I can't see up there. Yes, sir.
I'll tell you all about him.
Senator Baldwin.
Mr. President, I just apparently don't wave high enough.
Hey, you're blending into the wall back there with that tie.
Privilege, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out these guys are sitting up. I can't see these guys, but we have firefighters from Laramie, Torrington, Cheyenne, Wheatland, and Newcastle with us today. You'll recognize a couple of them up here. They're the 2 old guys with, they got more hair than I do, but we've recognized them on the floor during this year and a previous year. So if they
Got my guys here and I can't see them.
yeah, you have no hair either. Go ahead and welcome these gentlemen.
Here. Bills on second reading.
Mr. President.
Senator Landon. I'm not
Mr.
paying much attention.
Mr. President, privilege of the floor real quickly.
Granted.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You know, the firefighter that you just alluded to that comes from your neck of the woods, we learned a night or 2 ago that he is known as the godfather of all of these guys. He's right up there. So good to see the godfather here today.
Here, here. Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Privilege of the floor.
Granted.
Many of us have enjoyed an early morning omelet from this gentleman. He takes care of us not only from the kitchen standpoint, but guarding the doors. I believe, Ron, are you upstairs today? You step to the glass, please. Don't fall over. Somebody wake him up.
Ron, lean over the edge. Here we go.
There we go. Ron, it's my understanding that Ron is celebrating a birthday tomorrow, and I'm looking for someone to travel the birthday bear on to. The traveling birthday bear needs to go to someone else. So,
Barlow.
so at this time, if we could sing happy birthday to Ron.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ron. Happy birthday to you. Here, here. All right, who has the privilege for this fine group that just came in? Someone does, or we'll do it by ourselves. Senator Brennan.
Yes, privilege of 4.
Granted.
This group of students that is just coming in, I get teary-eyed seeing students. And these fine teachers, and I think a parent or two with them, are from Trinity Lutheran School here in Cheyenne. Thanks, Senator Ellis. And I cry because these teachers and students are amazing, and while my son is not part of this group, he is part of the school.
Here, here.
If I might add, they took the younger students to the state museum. They thought that might be a little bit more fun than watching us legislate.
Well, we're through an enrolled action. It's a lot more exciting now. House Bill 42, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 42, engrossed, off-road recreational vehicle operation.
House Bill 42, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection is so ordered. House Bill 56, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 56, Purple Star Schools.
House Bill 56, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection is so ordered. House Bill 62, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 62, open banking.
House Bill 62, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection is so ordered. House Bill 83, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 83, tribal agreements to hunt and fish.
There is an amendment. Could we have the amendment read in, please?
House Bill 83, second reading amendment number 1, page 5 after line 16, insert.
Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 83 and would ask the body to vote aye. Senators, yesterday we had a very lengthy and good discussion on House Bill 83, which would allow our governor to negotiate into agreements with tribes. Although I've expressed some concern about the contents of that bill, I want to emphasize the fact that that language was really developed between our governor and one tribe, and it seems appropriate that that language should stay with this governor and not extend beyond that. In the future, we may have a governor who might want to take a different approach. We might have a governor who doesn't want to negotiate at all. So what this amendment would do would simply add a repealer. The section would be repealed by December 31st, 2027. I have reached out to the governor's office to gauge their interest and support on this, but unfortunately haven't heard back. I think this is appropriate. This, I think, at least makes me a little bit more comfortable with if the bill were to advance. So I'd ask your aye vote.
Further discussion. Senator Case.
Guess where the largest protest in Wyoming was yesterday, Mr. President? It was in Fort Washakie, and it was against this bill. I think this bill makes this bill a little better and tells us that it's a product of one administration, and with that, I'd ask that you support this.
Thank you. Further discussion. Seeing none. We're voting on second reading amendment 1 to House Bill 83. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion is passed. House Bill 83, having been heard 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be heard a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 100, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 100, engrossed, acquisition value study.
There is an amendment. Can we have the amendment read in, please?
House Bill 100, second reading amendment number 1 to engrossed copy, page 4, line 7, delete.
Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 100. Senators, you'll recall we had a good discussion yesterday about the study that would ensue if this bill were to pass. It would instruct the Department of Revenue to report the results of the study to the Joint Interim Committee no later than September 1st, 2023. The following paragraph says that the Joint Revenue Committee shall review the study and develop legislation for the 2024 budget session as it sees necessary. I had some concerns that might seem too premature. That doesn't give the public a ton of time to look at this, the Joint Interim Committee a ton of time to do the work based off this report. So what this amendment would do would say that the Joint Interim Committee may prepare for the 2025 general session legislation necessary as it sees fit. So would ask for your support. This, I did visit with the prime sponsor of this bill and view this as a friendly amendment.
Further discussion, Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too believe this is a great amendment. As you recall, yesterday I urged the body to vote for this study, but I too had concerns that the time frame would be rushed. So I think this is a good fix, and we'll probably get some better work by voting this amendment in. So on and for. Thank you.
Further discussion, Senator Scott.
Mr. President, if this amendment has the effect of lengthening the time the committee has to work, that would alleviate the concern I had about our contracting system taking so long. If we tried to get it done in time for the budget session, we simply would not get a good work product because our contracting system is so cumbersome. So on and for the amendment, Mr. President.
Further discussion. Senator Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The bringer of the amendment did come to us, and I did talk to the prime sponsor, and being a co-sponsor, we totally agree with this amendment, and we appreciate her coming to us and asking us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Done right. Senator Beitman.
Thank you, Mr. President. To respond to my friend from Bates Creek, yeah, we did hear back from the Department of Revenue. It would take 3 months for the bid process. After a vendor is chosen, it would take, to complete the contract would be at least a month, gets them into July, leaves 2 months for the study to be done. So moving this out certainly does help. Otherwise, we'd have to waive the bid process to get this through. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Further discussion, sensing the question. We're voting on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 100. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 100 is passed the Senate. House Bill 100, having been heard 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be heard a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 134, second reading in the House file.
House Bill 134, engrossed, alcohol sales to licensees.
House Bill 134 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 148, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 148, airport liquor licenses amendments.
House Bill 148 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? House Bill 195, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 195, engrossed, American Rescue Plan Act appropriations amendments.
Senator Kinski.
Mr. President, I'd ask this bill be laid back to our next working day, Tuesday.
Absent objection, it is so ordered. House Bill 279, second reading of the House bill.
House Bill 279, voter identification requirements.
House Bill 279 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Senator Case.
May I have privilege of the floor?
You may.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. You guys, I'd like to introduce to you my son and his wife, Bailey. And George is, he's going to be 28 years old here coming up. And he was born shortly in the spring after a legislative session a long time ago. He grew up crawling around on the marble tiles up there. And the lobbyists would always give him little cars and little things, and he was very famous. So we are really related, although you can't really tell. But I'm very proud of him, and very proud of Bailey, who's a great Wyoming girl from the Upton, Newcastle area. And this is what he looked like when he was a little kid. They haven't gotten me their wedding picture yet, but I will put it on this desk. So please join me in welcoming my son,
Welcome, George and Bailey.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President.
Nice work, George. You got him to pull his hair out. We've all been trying to get that done for a long time. Bills on third reading. Mr. Majority Floor Leader, do we have a consent list?
Mr. President, we do have a consent list. I move House Bill 22, State Land Lease Deficiencies Cure Process. House Bill 27, School Facilities Consolidated Remediation Schedule. House Bill 31, BOCES as local education agencies. House Bill 44, Road and Bridge Construction, Alternative Contracting. House Bill 101, Uniform Trust Code Amendments. House Bill 118, Volunteer Firefighter Pension Funding. House Bill 127, Healthcare Facilities and Clergy. House Bill 165, Living Organ Donor Protection. House Bill 174, Homestead Exemption Amendments. And House Bill 180, Brucellosis Testing Notification Requirements.
Would anyone like anything removed from the consent list? Thank you. Having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall these bills pass the Senate? House Bill 22, State Land Lease Deficiencies Cure Process. House Bill 27, School Facilities Consolidated Remediation Schedule. House Bill 31, BOCES as local education agencies. House Bill 44, Road and Bridge Construction, Alternative Contracting. House Bill 101, Uniform Trust Code Amendments. House Bill 118, Volunteer Firefighting Pension Funding. House Bill 127, Healthcare Facilities and Clergy. House Bill 165, Living Organ Donor Protection. House Bill 174, Homestead Exemption Amendments. And House Bill 180, Brucellosis Testing Notification Requirements. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Third reading consent list. Anderson. Baldwin. Barlow. Whitman. Boner. Bouchard. Brennan. Case. Cooper. Dockstetter. Ellis. French. Murphy. Guru. Hicks. Hutchings. Ide. Jones. Kinsky. Cole. Landon. Larson. McEwen. Nethercott. Pappas. Rothfuss. Salazar. Schuler. Scott. Steinmetz excused. And President Driscoll.
Aye.
On the consent list, 30 aye, 1 excused. House Bill 22, are there any changes? Scott? Conflict? Beitman? No.
Driscoll conflict.
Driscoll? Conflict. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 22, 27 aye, 1 no, 2 conflict. House Bill 27, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 27, 30 aye, 1 excused. House Bill 31, are there any changes? Bouchard, aye to no. Hicks?
I don't know.
Aye to no. Cole? Excuse me. Aye? Aye to no. French? Aye to no. Salazar? No. Beitman? No. Cole? No. Brennan? No. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Case? Aye to no. Jones? Aye to no. Hutchings? Aye to no. Cooper? Aye to no.
Driscoll, I don't know.
Driscoll? Aye to no. Closing vote. Dockstetter? Aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 31, 14 aye, 16 no, 1 excused. House Bill 44, are there any changes? Bouchard, aye to no. Ide? Aye to no. Cole? Aye to no. Larson? Aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 44, 26 aye, 4 no, 1 excused. House Bill 101, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 101, 30 aye, 1 excused. House Bill 118, are there any changes? Beitman? Conflict? Ide? Aye to no. Case, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 118, 27 aye, 2 no, 1 excused, 1 conflict. House Bill 127, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 127, 30 aye, 1 excused. House Bill 165, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 165, 30 aye, 1 excused. House Bill 174, are there any changes? Case, aye to no. Kolb? Aye to no. Ellis? Ellis? Conflict. Pappas, aye to no. Thank you. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 174, 26 aye, 3 no, 1 excused, 1 conflict. And House Bill 180, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 180, 30 aye, 1 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of the majority of members elected to the Senate, House Bill 22, State Land Lease Deficiencies Cure Process, House Bill 27, School Facilities Consolidated Remediation Schedule, House Bill 44, Road and Bridge Construction Alternative Contracting, and House Bill 101, Uniform Trust Code Amendments, House Bill 118, Volunteer Firefighting Pension Funding, House Bill 127, Healthcare Facilities and Clergy, House Bill 165, Living Organ Donor Protection, House Bill 174, Homestead Exemption Amendments, and House Bill 180, brucellosis testing notification requirements, have passed the Senate. House Bill 31, having failed to receive the affirmative vote of the majority of members elected to the Senate, House Bill 31, BOCES of local education agencies, has failed to pass the Senate. Bills on third reading. House Bill 229, third reading of the House bill.
House Bill 229 engrossed. Electronic payment of sales and use taxes, sponsored by Representative Larson, an act relating to sales and use taxes.
There is an amendment. Could we have the amendment read in, please?
House Bill 229, third reading amendment to number 1 to engrossed copy, page 4, line 5, in.
Senator Cole.
Mr. President, I wish to lay back House Bill 229 for one day.
Without objection, so ordered. Senator Case.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side of House Bill 31, BOCES as local education agencies, I ask for reconsideration after we finish general file today.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Majority Floor, we're at that order of business, consideration of bills on general file.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate resolve itself into committee of the whole.
Heard the motion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. You guys want to stay for the weekend, or what would you like? Motion is passed. Do it when we come out, yep. Senator Cole. That's good vote.
The Committee of the Whole will please come to order. See out there. The first bill for our consideration is House Bill 67. Would the reading clerk please read in House Bill 67? And there is an amendment that also be read in at this time.
House Bill 67
can't do that.
engrossed.
After he does the
Special
first one.
license plate decals, women's veterans, sponsored by Representative Stivar, an act relating to motor vehicles. It was referred to committee number 8, which returned a committee recommendation that it do pass amended. Ayes, Senators Boner, Brennan, Furphy, Kolb, and Pappas. Senator Boner, chairman.
Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 67. There is a standing committee amendment, and I ask that it be read in at this time.
House Bill 67, Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to engrossed copy, page 5, line 15, delete.
Chairman Boner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 67. We'll get to that in due time. I'll go ahead and take the explanation of this bill. Ladies and gentlemen, what you have is a simple little bill that recognizes the service of our women veterans in this state. This is a population that currently comprises about 9% of the veteran population, projected to double to 17% here in the sooner rather than later. So you'll see a handout here on your desk that gives you an example of how this will work. Basically what this will do, it won't be a separate license plate. It'll be a decal you put on, similar to the expiration date you put on the top left-hand corner of your plate. This will simply be on the bottom left-hand corner of all military or most military-related license plates. So that would be specifically Survivor of Pearl Harbor, our National Guard-related ones, our Purple Heart recipients, and our honorably discharged veteran license plates. Notably, the fee for this will be no more than $5. It'd be anywhere from $0 to $5 to cover the administrative expenses for the department. And it's a pretty simple, straightforward bill. That's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman, allowing recognition of the women who have served their country honorably, not making a whole new license plate. They'll still be associated with their branch of service, with the status as a Purple Heart recipient or the survivor of Pearl Harbor, but also recognizing the unique challenges that go along with serving as a woman in the military. Now, the Standing Committee Amendment was something we had a question on in committee. Apparently in the House, at some point, somebody thought it would be a good idea. I don't know if this is similar to some way thinking that'd be a good idea to put some like chirping sounds here in this chamber, but they thought it'd be a good idea to require to put the bucking horse and rider on the sticker itself. So you look at, you can imagine how that wouldn't work. Like I said, I think this is some sort of prank or something. So the Standing Committee Amendment is to get rid of that, amendment. So you just have the small sticker that has no room for bucking horse and rider on it. And so that's the Standing Committee Amendment. I'll stand for questions on the Standing Committee Amendment.
Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I do, on and for the Standing Committee Amendment. If you look at that piece, that decal, it's only a ½ inch high by about ¾ of an inch wide. And so, frankly, if we put the bucking horse on there, there will not be a whole lot of room to really identify that be, whatever the decal looks like, to identify the veteran as a woman. The plate already has the bucking horse on it, so there's no need to duplicate it on the decal. So on and for the amendment.
Senator Hutchings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the sole, I believe, a veteran in the Senate, female, I agree that this is a very good amendment and stand for it. Thank you. Question.
Question being called on the amendment. All those in favor of Senator Boner's motion to adopt Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 67, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That amendment is passed. Back on the bill. Question being called on the bill. All those in favor of Senator Boner's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report it, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 67, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That is passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 188. Could the reading clerk please read in House Bill 188? Oh.
House Bill 188 engrossed, wolf depredation compensation, sponsored by Representative Winter, an act relating to agriculture. It was referred to committee number 5, which returned to committee recommendation that it do pass amended. Ayes, Senators French, Hicks, Ide, Kolb, and Steinmetz. Senator Steinmetz, chairman. Was re-referred to committee number 2, which returned to committee recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Guru, Kinski, Nethercott, and Salazar. Senator Kinski, chairman.
Senator French.
I move that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 188 do pass. And to explain the bill, I call on Majority Floor Leader Senator Hicks.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, there is a standing committee amendment. Could I have it read in at this time?
House Bill 188, Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to engrossed copy, page 1, line 14, delete.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, I'll walk through the bill and then we'll get back to the standing committee. It just changes a reversion date and then clears up one piece of language. Mr. Chairman, what the bill does is establishes a $300,000 compensation fund for livestock producers who've lost livestock associated with wolf depredation outside of the trophy management area. Mr. Chairman, it requires the Department of Agriculture to go in and establish a rulemaking procedure and then either contract with the Wyoming Game and Fish, or actually not contract, but do an agreement with the Wyoming Game and Fish Department or the Animal Damage Services with APHIS, which is a federal agency to verify those losses to wolf predation, and then they submit a claim to the Department of Agriculture. Mr. Chairman, that's what the bill does. The amendment goes in and moves the reversion date of the appropriation from 2026 back to 2028. The rationale from that is based on the previous utilization of this program, that $300,000 is expected to last about 5 years before it would require any additional funding for the program. So I'd stand for any questions on the amendment. If there's no questions on the amendment, I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Senator Hicks, would you move the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I move standing committee amendment number 1 to House Bill 188 and ask for your favorable consideration.
Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senator French's motion to adopt standing committee amendment number 1 to House Bill 188, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We're back on the bill. Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I do appreciate this bill. I just want to be clear that when I heard the explanation, there was kind of a correction that there was not contracts involved, but I look at line 10 of the bill, and it does talk about contracts, not agreements, which is, I believe, what the presenter of the bill used. So I just wanted to clarify, is there a difference in that? Is it just semantics? The second thing, Mr. Chairman, I would say is, having actually been involved in my profession at looking at some of these damages, not with maybe this particular predator, but others, you look at the bottom of page 2, the definition of damage means an injury or loss to livestock, and it probably should be injury inflicted or loss of livestock by a gray wolf. Anyway, I think there's some verbiage there that could be more clear potentially about how this. So I just throw that out there, Mr. Chairman, that there may be some clarity that could be used in both places as to the contracting and to the damage definition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, as I read this bill, my ranching operation would be eligible, and we would, I think, seek to cover damages for livestock that was eaten by the wolves. We've had so far in our area, we have had one set of wolves, and they ate exclusively elk until they got shot. But I think any of us are at risk, and so I will declare a conflict, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Case.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question on this bill, but before that, may I have privilege of the floor?
You may.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Fellow members of the Senate, I'd like to introduce to you some good friends of mine. And despite all you hear about the news in Fremont County, some of my favorite people are Fremont County's Republican women. And several of them are up here today. I see Jerry Bash is here, Georgia Davis, Sandy Lures, and Kate Hayes. If you guys could stand, I know that you've got friends in there too, but I want to get the Fremont County Republican women first. Love you guys, thank you. Back on the bill, Mr. Chairman?
Back on the bill, Senator Case.
So, Mr. Chairman, I need to understand how this bill kind of works and how this payment mechanism works. And I understand we've got different areas for management of wolves. We've got the predator management area, and we have the protected area. But I also understand that there's other sources of funding, and I need to understand about that. And I don't know if that applies in this area. Maybe that's the reason for the bill. But I know the Game and Fish has funding, and I know that Fish and Wildlife has funding. And it's my understanding that they raised the amount of damage they give for livestock in recent years. And it was a considerable big raise. I think that went through. I'd like to know more about that.
Senator Hicks.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll try to walk through those. To my colleague from Campbell County, the standing committee changed on that line 2, page 2, line 10. It changed that from contracts to agreement in the standing committee amendment. With regards to the other language, I think we could probably clean that up. Certainly in his other capacities had more experience with that than I have, Mr. Chairman, so we could probably work on that. To my colleague from Fremont County, there is currently no funding for this because this is in the area that wolves are designated as predators. Game and Fish only operates a compensation program in areas where they're considered trophy game, and that's the definition, and that's the differential. In the trophy game area under Game and Fish's formula, they say if you have one lost, and I'll just use the example like yearling calves, they have a formula that says you probably lost 5, and that's based on research that they've done historically. This program is a strict 1-to-1 ratio. In other words, if you lost 1 calf, you're only going to get compensated for 1 calf. So it's different in that area, and the difference is because there is the ability for a landowner to have lethal take in this area, but it's just trying to get to that actual loss of that livestock, and that's the differential between the compensation from Game and Fish and Fish and Wildlife Service in this program. I hope that answers questions.
Further discussion? Question being called. All those in favor of Senator French's motion that when the committee of the whole arises to report it, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 188, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? House Bill 188 has passed the committee of the whole. The next bill for our consideration. Senator Kinski.
May I have privilege of the floor?
You may, sir.
I'd like to introduce to you all some of my very favorite people, Republican women from Sheridan and Johnson counties. Please give them a warm Senate welcome.
Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there are also Republican women from the entirety of the state, including Campbell County. So would they all please stand up so we don't go through this with 23 counties. So welcome to all of the Republican women. Thank you.
And you may have privilege of the floor. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 284. Would the reading clerk please read in House Bill 284?
House Bill 284, Collection Agency Regulation, Debt Buyers, sponsored by Representative Walters, an act relating to collection agencies. It was referred to committee number 7, which returned a committee recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Boner, I beg your pardon, ayes, Senators Barlow, Boner, Case, Landon, and Scott. Senator Landon, acting chairman.
Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a due pass recommendation on House Bill 284. And for an explanation of this bill, I'd ask that you call on the senator from Fremont County in the back corner.
Senator Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is a pretty straightforward bill. It deals with people that are called debt buyers, and they basically pick up debt that collection agencies have been trying to collect, and they consolidate that debt. They may make it into other financial instruments, but they are also still trying to collect the debt. It's usually sold at a great discount by the time it gets to, these are the people that get the debt of last resort from collection agency actions. Debt buyers, they used to be covered as a licensee of the collection agency board, and then there was a kind of disagreement whether they should be or not. So for the past couple of years, they have not been covered by the collection agency board. By all accounts, they want to be covered. They want to be licensed. The collection agency board wants to do this. It's good for consumer protection. And so what this would do would have these debt buyers be licensed by the state of Wyoming. And believe me, the collection agency board does offer protections to consumers and helps to rein in the practices that sometimes get out of hand with respect to debt collection. Within this deal, a debt buyer means any person that is regularly engaged in the business of purchasing charged off consumer debt for collection purposes, whether the person collects the debt, hires a third party for collection of the debt, or hires an attorney for collection litigation. So we're talking about consumer debt, and these are folks that are engaged in the practice of buying it at great discounts after all attempts of collection have been done, and then further trying to collect the debt. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Try to answer any questions.
No further discussion. Question being called. All those in favor of Senator Landon's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 284, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? House Bill 284 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 33. Would the reading clerk please read in House Bill 33?
House Bill 33 engrossed, School of Finance Career Technical Education Grants, sponsored by the Education Committee, an act relating to school finance, was referred to committee number 4, which returned a committee recommendation that it do pass amended. Ayes, Senators Beitman, Brennan, Rothfuss, Scott, and Steinmetz. Senator Scott, chairman. Was re-referred to committee number 2, which returned a committee recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Guru, Kinski, Nethercott, and Salazar. Senator Kinski, chairman.
Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, this bill, my expert in the committee on this subject is ill, and my committee members have been off the floor, just now returning. I ask it be laid back, subject to the discretion of the majority floor leader to bring it up in due course.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Yes. Okay. House Bill 33 has been laid back on general file. Mr. Majority Floor Leader? Oh, we got 81, excuse me. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 81. Would the reading clerk please read in House Bill 81?
House Bill 81 engrossed, hospital supplemental payments statutory fix, sponsored by Representative Larson, an act relating to medical assistance and services. It was referred to Committee Number 10, which returned a committee recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Baldwin, Barlow, Dockstader, and Hutchings. No, Senator Bouchard. Senator Baldwin, Chairman. Was re-referred to Committee Number 2, which returned a committee recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Guru, Kinski, Nethercott, and Salazar. Senator Kinski, Chairman.
Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when a committee of the whole rises to report, it do so with a favorable recommendation that House Bill 81, hospital supplemental payments, that's hard to read when you keep moving it, Mike. Hospital supplemental payments, statutory changes. And for the explanation of that bill, I will turn you to Senator Barlow.
Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the body. So this bill is exactly what it says it is. In 2016, the Wyoming legislature adopted a program called an upper payment limit program for private hospitals. This allows private hospitals to capture the maximum amount of reimbursement when it comes to Medicaid patients. Currently, that is fixed at the equivalent to Medicare. But because Wyoming reimburses at a lower rate than the Medicare rate, the hospitals are not able to collect the entirety. So what we did in 2016, and we've done it with several other programs since then, including emergency medical services and others, is we have allowed the provider, in this case the private hospitals, to make up the difference for what the state is in their own assessment, and then be able to collect the balance of the federal payment that they would have otherwise received. So, Mr. Chairman, walking through the bill very quickly, it changes nothing about current statute except conforms it to the way we've done with the other bills that we've done since then. So with our EMS that we did a couple years ago, our nursing home one that we did, I think 4 years ago now, this just conforms the process to the same way that those bills were done. Mr. Chairman, this is a example of we learn as we go. We learn how this should be authorized and subsequently how the programs actually operate. And this is a fix, if you will, to where we started. Mr. Chairman, the bill, like I said, is very straightforward. I'll call your attention to the top of page 3 of the bill. We've changed the ability of the administrative expenses from 1% to 3%, and that is coming out of the fee that the hospitals are charged or that they pay forward. Working through the remainder of the bill, you'll see some other modest increases in the fee. Again, this is for private hospitals, those folks that are out there providing services in our community. Of the 29 hospitals I think it's 29 hospitals in our state, I think there's 13, I believe, that are truly private hospitals, i.e. not a hospital district, or some other kind of county hospital. So, Mr. Chairman, there was an amendment on the House side that adjusted the addition, and this is section 4, adjusted the position. And what they did was they took the position away from general fund and had it being reimbursed by half of the position being reimbursed by the federal funds. And if I could have the Committee of the Whole amendment read in at this time, Mr. Chairman.
House Bill 81, Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 to engrossed copy, page 7, line 14 after.
And I would move Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 to the Senate file 81 and ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. Chairman, what this does is this pays for the rest of the position out of the special revenue that the hospitals are putting forth toward this program. So we had funded half of a program, half of a position, and now we're funding the remainder of that position, all out, none of it out of general funds, either through federal funds and the assessment. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask for the question, if there are no questions, on the Committee of the Whole amendment.
Any questions? Question being called. the motion to adopt Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 81. Please. Give me the whole, let me rephrase that. Motion to adopt Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 81. Please, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 to House Bill 81 is passed. The Committee of the Whole, back on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I just finalize the bill, Section 3 is actually what the impact this bill has in many of our communities if you have a private hospital. And that is that about $7.8 million more of money is being brought back into our community. 3.8 million of it is new money. And these hospitals are assessing themselves to accomplish this, assessing themselves. This is not the state doing it to them. This is a choice they are making. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would be glad to stand for questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Further discussion? Going once, going twice, sold. All those in favor of Senator Baldwin's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a favorable recommendation of House Bill 81, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 81 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is Majority Floor Leader Hicks.
I request that the Committee of the Whole stand at ease to the sound of the gavel while they're distributing some handouts for the next bill.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Just a request.
Request.
Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Yeah. Stand at ease to the sound of the
You want
gavel.
this one? I did it. Do it again. Will the committee of whole please come to order? The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 99. Will the reading clerk please read in House Bill 99?
House Bill 99 engrossed, Property Tax Refund Program, sponsored by the Revenue Committee, an act relating to property tax. It was referred to Committee Number 6, which returned a committee recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Baldwin, Ellis, Garud, Jones, and Schuler. Senator Schuler, Chairman.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 99 do pass. And with that, I would turn the time over to the good senator from Teton County to explain this bill.
Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you a good little House Bill, House Bill 99. You know, yesterday we were just, a question came up while we were going through the budget. Are there any tax refund bills left out there, refund programs? And by golly, here one is right here the very next day. Maybe not some of our favorite, but a good little bill nonetheless. This comes to us from the Joint Revenue Intercommittee from last year's group. And basically what this bill does, and we'll take you through it, but basically it's a little more targeted. It's a refund program, not unlike our senior program, the one I call lovingly the little old lady program that we've had the past few years in the Department of Revenue budget. But what it does is it takes off the age restrictions, puts on a few more restrictions, and so let's walk through it. If you'll turn to page 2, kind of get to the meat of it, I think some of the key points are addressed here. First, and everyone needs to understand this very clearly, you have to pay your taxes in full from the previous year to be involved in this program. Then, once you come, you can apply for a refund the next year on the previous year's taxes. You must, as it says here on line 15 on page 2, you need to have lived in the home for 5 years, need to be a current resident, and the applicant property should be occupied by the owner, so you have to occupy it. So owner occupied, 5-year minimum. You have to pay the tax before, and you're going in for a refund afterwards. Now, as far as the income levels, what you apply for, you turn to page 3. Your gross income used in this subparagraph should be defined by the department through rules and regulations. The gross income should be verified by federal income tax returns. So, and there is a form, and I've got it over here. I didn't want to blizzard you with paperwork on Friday just before we're out of town, but I do have a form over here if you want to come over and take a peek at it. Anyways, you skip down, it says the department shall issue all refunds under this paragraph on or before September 30th, in which the year in which the application is made. And now, going down here, any person should qualify for a refund in the amount specified if the person's gross income and the total household income of which the person is a member does not exceed 125% of the median gross income for the applicant's county of residence for the state as determined annually by an economic analysis division of the Department of A&I. I forwarded 2 handouts to you, and if you'll look on the one here with color, that's color coded, you'll see that it shows for each county what exactly 125% of gross median household income is. That is total household income. Because, you know, when you first hear that, it sounds like, boy, that sounds like a lot. But if you look down at this and you look at your own county and mine, you'll see these numbers vary widely from county to county. But when you talk about especially gross median income for a family, you have a family of 2, family of 4, it is, as you can see, not exactly a vast amount of money. Turning on to page 4, it also says additionally, unless the person's tax liability is greater than 10% of the person's household income, no person shall qualify for a refund under this paragraph unless the person has total household income assets as defined by the department of not to exceed $150,000 per adult member of the household as adjusted annually by the statewide average of cost of living index published by the Economic Analysis Division of the Department of A&I. And there's some exclusions on this, and this is part of what the House did to amend this bill, but a refund grant under this shall not exceed 90% of the applicant's prior year's property tax, but in no instance shall the refund exceed 1/2 of the median residential property tax liability for the applicant's county of residence as determined annually by the Department of Revenue. That's important too, because it's trying to say you can't double dip on this. And if you read on, you'll see that it also has a county option program that can put money into this program, but still there's a stopgap, so you cannot double dip on this program. And so the amount to exceed is what's spelled out. So that's basically this program. Like I say, it's targeted relief for folks who need it most at kind of the lower end of the scale. The attempt here is to try to make sure that we get working families, like I say, on that lower part of the scale, to be able to get meaningful tax relief as soon as possible while we work through others. We don't know what other bills will do in the other body, so I think I urge your support on this. And the second handout that I gave, this gives a snapshot of the last 10, 12 years of median property tax for each county. And as you look at that, I draw your attention to a couple of the counties here. When you look at some of our friends up north on the other side from my county of the park, and folks up along the northern tier, you look at some of the increases, especially from 21 to 22. You're talking about large increases here, and this is really starting to bite into folks' annual income. Whether you're having this deducted on your mortgage payments, or whether you're just walking into the treasurer's office and stroking a check, these dollars are starting to really affect household income. Especially, like I say, it's affecting all of us, but really affecting folks on the lower end. So that's the bill. That's House Bill 99. I'd be glad to stand for any questions.
Senator Hicks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if we could, I'd like a little explanation of how the household member, the immediate family member, plays into the calculation, because it's an or. It says applicant of the property shall be occupied by the owner or an immediate family member. And this brings in a whole new concept within the existing property tax refund program, because now it could be a member of the family. And the question I have, as I'd like to get to, is, so if this other person applies for it and is it their income that's tested against the property tax, or is it the owner's income that's tested against the property tax?
I'll phone a friend.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have the answer to that. That's my question as well. So for example, you have an adult child living with the parents. Is the adult child's income going to be used for the tax break? That's the scenario I see. And so we certainly don't want this program to be gamed to the disadvantage of those who really need it. Want to make sure the program is appropriately applied. So could that scenario actually occur?
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's interesting we didn't get asked that question, or no one asked that question during testimony, but my understanding is the owner. So if said son or daughter moves back in with mom or dad, as long as mom or dad still own the house, that's who this would pertain to. And the other thing I think, just to mention, I think it's important, we got some statistics from the State Revenue Department from, once we funded the program in 2022, we had 4,395 applications last year, and 3,085 of them qualified for state-funded refunds. And before that, when it was funded in 2019, we only had about 1,400 applications. So obviously, this bill works. This legislation works for this property tax refund program. And it is targeted. It's targeted tax relief for the people that really need it. It does require a means test. And I think the important thing here is that it is supported by a lot of the folks, AARP, the Taxpayers Association. I think the Petroleum Association testified in favor of it. The county commissioners are in favor of this, and many others. So I think it's a tried and true program. And honestly, I think it'll just continue to grow. And I think it's going to hit the people that need it the most. Thank you.
Senator Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is a product of your Joint Interim Revenue Committee's work, and I hope that we will move this bill along. If you don't like the possibility of, when people might be snowbirds, they're not here quite all the time, their kid lives in the house and receiving it, you can work with that and come up with an amendment. This is an extremely popular program that came about when we refunded it just a couple of years ago. And it was very fortuitous that we did, because it was the time when the tax obligations were increasing dramatically, and we found there to be a lot of interest for this program. And for $3 million that was in our previous budget, we did a lot of good for a lot of people. And so the obligor, the one who receives it, is the taxpayer, the owner taxpayer. They match up. So if you want to restrict that with a further amendment, get right after it. But this is an important bill.
Senator Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question, or maybe a little more conversation regarding the interim work. And by the way, I really like the bill. I think it gets to something that's certainly been important to me, and that is that we somehow get some relief to the people who really need it. This program is certainly that. My concern is, was there any conversation about how far this $2 million can go, and whether or not it's really enough? It's getting late in the game, and it's probably what we have, but how long and how far can this go? How many people can it touch? I wonder if that conversation was had during the interim. Thank you.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just need a little further discussion from those members of the Joint Interim Revenue Committee. Love the bill, love the program, certainly not questioning the need or how it helps people who need the help. All of that's great. Certainly support it. The issue is, though, I think how this potentially could be gamed. Anyone with arguably an 18-year-old in the home, right? So you have your kids who use your college-age kids or 18-year-old kids, or could even be a minor, but we won't go down that path. But let's say you're senior in high school, freshman in college, they still use that home as their residence, and you want a tax break, and so you use their income, which is, $11,000 a year from a fast food restaurant while they're going to school, and then you get the tax break, right? So it's actually not the person who owns the property, who's receiving the value of the equity, who's responsible, but you're actually using someone else's income as a basis for the tax break, who also is not responsible for the mortgage or responsible or in valuing that equity. So really the issue is, right, can the family with a college-age student, not the snowbird scenario, but the 22-year-old living at home, can we use their income to game this system?
Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I'm certainly going to support this bill because it does help some people, I think, who need it the most. But I would like to point out that this bill is not an adequate substitute for real tax relief from the way our taxes have escalated. And there are a number of groups who will not benefit from this. The obvious one here, the ones that are over the income levels. I'm not so worried about them. but everybody pays property tax where they live. If you rent, you pay it indirectly. That's the biggest group that's going to be left out in this. The rents go up to recover that cost that the landlord has. They have to. So that group is excluded from this benefit, as I understand the bill. There's another much smaller group that I happen to belong to in the ranching community. Frequently, ranches are incorporated one way or another, and the people that own the ranch live in the houses, but they don't own them. The ranching company owns them. That's a very common circumstance, relatively small group of people. But because we don't pay it directly, as I think we're excluded. So there's a number of groups, the renters being the big group, that are excluded. And with that excluded, Mr. Chairman, this doesn't serve the needs that a real comprehensive tax reform would serve.
Senator Biteman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This would be your big government approach to solving the property tax problem. This is creating a program or expanding a government program. Hey, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, even though we're taking more of your money every year as assessed valuations go up. And we're as a body gonna decide who deserves a tax break, who doesn't. Make it more complicated. You gotta come beg to the government for your money back, and we're gonna pick winners and losers. Does that sound like good tax policy? Not to me, it doesn't. I think the best way to go is give everybody a break across the board, make it proportional, and be done with it. I just think this is the wrong approach, and I'll be voting against it. And I would also add, my constituents want tax relief, not welfare, and this is just basically welfare.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I was on the Revenue Committee last year, and we worked on a lot of different property tax bills, and quite honestly, this is the one I thought might have the best chance really to get through both sides. Part of the reason for that is because this is not going to take such a big hit to our services, our police, our fire, our roads, our highways, and those kinds of things, whereas some of the others might, and I think that's important. The goal of this bill is not to open the program to people with high incomes and assets who can afford to pay their taxes, but to those who are really being truly priced out of their own home. Those are the people I think we need to start giving some relief to. And so it is means tested. It offers targeted tax relief to those who really need it and who qualify for it. I mean, they've got to live in their home nine months out of the year. You know, they've got to have been there at least 5 years. They got to own their home, and then the assets, you know, kick in. I don't look at this as welfare. I look at this as giving some relief to those folks that need it. We're probably looking at a lot of retirees that are on fixed incomes that live in some of these counties where, you know, property taxes have gone through the roof. The interesting thing, I think, is the fiscal note on this, as someone asked the question about money. It's $2 million in 2024, $2.1 million in 2025, $2.2 million in 2026. And again, I think that's the interesting thing is in talking with a lot of our lawmakers on both sides, this seems to be the one bill that a lot of people can get behind because it's not going to take a hit with a lot of our other folks in our cities and counties and schools and that sort of thing, but it's still going to give our retirees and some of our older folks that maybe can't pay their taxes and are having to figure out what to do, whether to move or what to do, it's going to give them the relief that we need. So I think you know, obviously if we passed a bill to fund it, I think we felt that it was needed. And I think just by giving you the statistics I did where we went from 1,400 applicants to over 4,000 applicants, I think that tells you that there's a lot of folks out there that are figuring out this is a good program. They're applying, they do have to pay their taxes on time, and it seems to be working. So I think we need to continue forward with this bill.
Senator Grew, then next case, Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I've been talking about tax relief for 5 years in this body and pretty much getting nowhere. and not getting much help of any kind. And now this year comes and it's starting to affect more communities in the state. All of a sudden, we got 10 or 12 tax bills floating around. And I think that's terrific. I think I'm glad that there are more folks that are feeling the same effects that my friend across the way and from down the Valley of the Stars, where they're feeling it, and where we're really feeling it. Like I say, once again, I was going to point this out, but if you look down to a county where I call home, our median taxes went from $5,700 to $8,400 in 1 year. In 10 years, from $3,000 to $8,000. I don't care if you call it welfare. I don't care if you call it Meshuggah. I got to tell you, my folks, the people who need it most, need this relief. And with this 125% of gross median income, more folks in more communities will qualify sooner. So that means folks in your communities will be able to take advantage of this program sooner. It's the money that they have paid in taxes and they're asking for it back. Yes. And while I think there are better proposals out there, and I think there are different ones come through this body, but right now, I'm going to ride this bill and urge your support, because I tell you, I think that I too agree, whichever one passes, we're going to be better off. But as long as tax relief comes, my folks will take it right now. Thank you, Mr. President, or Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Senator Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we do need this bill. This bill is targeted. It is the only form of tax relief that we have on the table that's constitutional and has been applied in previous times. We can talk about giving general tax relief or tax relief to just residential customers or taxpayers or the residential all other class. But if we go too far out of bounds, Mr. Chairman, and then we run into constitutional problems. But our Constitution allows for this, Mr. Chairman, and in part because our Constitution allows for necessary support of the poor. Now, these people have lived in their homes a long time. 5 years under this bill as it's being expanded. It's also being expanded to raise the income level, and it's from 3/4 to 125%. There's a couple other things. If you don't like the issue about the non-owner occupied and outlawing that other person's income to be used for establishing it, bring an amendment on second reading to do exactly that, simple amendment. But there are many other things in this bill that does good. It's relatively inexpensive. We gave all that tax relief for $3 million. And our local governments were made whole. We're going to expand it by another $2 million, a little bit more. And this is a good bill, Mr. Chairman. And when we're sitting on billions, we can afford to treat the people that need this the most as good as we can. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really great speeches, and I hate to do this, but it looks like this bill was not referred to Appropriations Committee, and there is a $2 million appropriation, so not sure where I am, but either asked to have the bill laid back or re-referred to the Appropriations Committee. I move to have the bill re-referred to the Appropriations Committee. Somebody can tell me if that's out of order. Absent objection, I move to have the bill re-referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations, as there is a $2 million appropriation on the bill.
Call for question.
Question being called. Sorry. I tried to push you aside.
Everyone in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, it is. Fiscal note, general fund, 2.4 million.
What is it? 99. House Bill 99 has been re-referred to Committee Number 2. Senator French.
It says general fund.
Yes, may I have privilege of the floor?
You may, Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everybody, if you would please welcome in the balcony. I've got 4 special guests up there. First is my wife, Becky. Couple months, we will have been married 48 years. 48. Yeah. Next to her is our nephew, Matthew Siegley. Next to Matthew is his father, Tom Siegley. That's Becky's brother. And then next to him is his wife, Leanne. So if you'd give him a big round of applause.
Majority Floor Leader Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
You have heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Dave.
For clarification, as the Vice President comes up there, I'm not sure, but we just moved a bill from one committee to another committee and committee of the whole. Mr. Vice President, a ruling on that as you take the chair? You got thrown under the bus with that. Maybe you give them some thought there.
Senator Dockstader.
Well, we're trying to decide here. We were actually in committee of the whole, and we just transferred. We moved one bill from one committee to another.
Well, a couple of things. One, the rules do allow that in committee of the whole. That's not been our practice. That's number one. Number two, I don't think the motion was in order because if it was just a re-referral for purposes of looking at the appropriation, if that's all it was, I think it was proper. If it was trying to recall from committee and then reassign to a committee, it was just re-referral for an appropriation.
You got a head shake from your floor leader, Mr. Vice President.
Yeah. Yes.
Each year. I haven't had a chance to study it. I just immediately saw it. I was curious as a member of the Appropriations Committee that we didn't see this bill, and so I was looking at it for the first time. That's why I moved to re-refer it to Appropriations, because there is.
I think we all just agreed with you.
Well, I just want to make sure that's clear. There was no shenanigans going on. It was just an appropriation, that's all.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't clear.
I think we figured it out. Thank you. Senator, Mr. President, you're still here. All right. Senator Scott.
Mr. Vice President, I've seen this done any number of times. Not only just referring to appropriations when that was missed and should have been done, but also actually using it. We get a bill that just hasn't been properly worked in committee. I've seen it sent back to a committee or even to another committee, straight out of committee of the whole. So there is precedent for doing just what we did.
Can I get my concurrences? The reading clerk will read the committee of the whole report.
Mr. Vice President, Committee of the Whole, having had under consideration bills on general file, begs leave to report as follows. House Bill 67 engrossed, do pass amended. House Bill 188 engrossed, do pass amended. House Bill 284 do pass. House Bill 33 engrossed was laid back. House Bill 81 engrossed, do pass amended. House Bill 99 engrossed was re-referred to Committee Number 2. Senator Kolb, Chairman.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, I move for the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report.
All those, you've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The report has been adopted. Senator Case.
Mr. Chairman, at your leave, I had announced a reconsideration of House Bill 31, BOCES as local education agencies. It was on third reading this morning. if this is convenient, I'd like to ask for that reconsideration now.
All right, the motion is for reconsideration, and clerk will call the roll.
This is the
Oh.
motion to reconsider.
I thought it was read in earlier. Clerk will read it in. Okay. Excuse me.
And I did vote on the prevailing side.
House Bill 31, BOCES as local education agencies, sponsored by the Education Committee.
The motion is for reconsideration of message number 368 on House Bill 31, BOCES as local education agencies. The clerk will call the roll.
For reconsideration, House Bill 31. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Brennan? No. Case?
Aye.
Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? No. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? No. Kinski?
No.
No. Cole?
No.
No. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz excused. President Driscoll? Aye. Hicks, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. For reconsideration. 16 aye, 14 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, message number 368. I got it. By your vote, message number 368, House Bill number 31 will be reconsidered. We will now vote on the bill, on the message. Senator Scott.
Point of order, it's third reading on the bill.
Third reading, excuse me.
Good job,
Okay.
House Bill 31, third reading roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Brennan? No. Case?
Aye.
Aye. Cooper? Cooper? No. Dockstetter? No. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? No. Kinski?
Aye.
Aye. Cole?
No.
No. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Steinmetz excused. President Driscoll? Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. House Bill 31, 16 aye, 14 no, 1 excused.
House Bill 31, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to Senate, House Bill 31 has passed the Senate. Okay, introduction of House bills.
Oh, I love this part.
House Bill 209, first reading of the bill.
House Bill 209, Hathaway Scholarship Accounts Transfer Timing, sponsored by Capital Finance, an act relating to education, passed the House, ayes 61, noes 1.
House Bill 209 is assigned to Committee Number 4, Education. Okay. Senator Baldwin, are you ready on message number 365 relating to Senate File 10, Licensed Professional Counselor Compact?
I am, Mr. President, or Mr. Vice President, thank you. I move concurrence request to message 365 to original Senate File 10, Licensed Professional Counselor Compact, and I ask for your aye vote. Fellow senators, all they did on this bill was just a simple, oh, it didn't get read in.
It does need to be read in, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'll start over.
Message number 365, referencing Senate File 10, Licensed Professional Counselor Compact.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move concurrence request to message 365, original Senate File 10, Licensed Professional Counsel Report, and ask for your aye vote. Fellow senators, all this really did is they changed a little bit of wording to improve what it said. They didn't change anything substantial in the bill at all. They just changed the wording to make it a better bill, and I would encourage your aye.
The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 10, Licensed Professional Counselor Compact, and you are asked to vote aye. Chief Kirk, please call the roll.
Concurrence, roll call vote, Senate File 10. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin?
Aye.
Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski?
Aye.
Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz excused. President Driscoll? Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 10, 28 aye, 2 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 10. Senator Baldwin, are you ready on message number 371 regarding Senate File 37, Podiatry Medical Services Medicaid?
I am, Mr. Vice President. We have it ready.
Let's read it in.
Message number 371, referencing Senate File 37, Podiatry Medical Services Medicaid.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move concurrence request message number 371, original Senate File 37, Podiatry Medical Services Medicaid. Fellow senators, what they did on the other side is they just added a little bit of language. It doesn't hurt the bill, perhaps makes it a little stronger. They added, if referred to a podiatrist by a physician, physician assistant, or an advanced practice registered nurse. Doesn't hurt the bill, make it a bit stronger. I would encourage an aye vote.
The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 37 and that you are asked to vote aye. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Concurrence vote, Senate File 31. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin?
Aye.
Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski?
Aye.
Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz excused. President Driscoll? Aye. Closing vote. French? Aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 37, 22 aye, 8 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 37, Podiatry Medical Services, Medicaid. Senator Baldwin's a busy guy today. Senator Baldwin, are you ready on Joint Conference Committee number 1, report 357 regarding Senate File 9?
I am, Mr. Vice President. Can we have that read in?
Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report referencing House Message Number 357 corrected, referencing Senate File 9, Medicaid Coverage Licensed Pharmacist, signed by Representatives Larson, Provenza, and Zwanitzer, Senators Baldwin and Barlow.
Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I would move adoption of the Joint Conference Committee report on message number 357, original Senate File 9, and Medicaid Coverage Licensed Pharmacist. Fellow Senators, what happened in the conference committee is the decision was made to recede back to the original bill that passed out of here and take off the amendments that were put on in the House. So in this case, we call the killer bees winners. So I would encourage your aye votes on this bill as well.
The motion is that the Senate do adopt Joint Conference Committee Report 357 on Senate File 9. The clerk will please call the roll.
Joint Conference Committee Number 1, report to Senate File 9. Roll call. Anderson? Anderson, aye. Baldwin?
Aye.
Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski?
Aye.
Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar?
No.
No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz excused. President Driscoll? Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Joint Conference Committee Report Number 1 to Senate File 9. 23 aye, 7 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have adopted Joint Conference Committee Report Number 1, reference Senate File 9. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Privilege?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Honorable members, we have with us today 2 incredible public school teachers that I am very familiar with because I've visited their classrooms. We have Mr. Daniel McLean and Ms. Becca Pearson with their Riverton School Government class, 14 seniors. I had the great privilege of listening to both these classes, and it's really extraordinary. I have a great deal of hope for our future with young people like this. And with that, if you could give them a Senate welcome, I'd appreciate it.
Senator Nethercutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. RHS is the best. Former Wolverine right here. Riverton High School. You can do it.
Well, there's LLAN.
I'll cheer.
Message from the House. Message number 377, concurrence passed February 16, 2023. Mr. Vice President, the House did concur on Senate amendments to the following bills by the votes indicated. House Bill number 21, State Land Use of Land Qualification Requirements. Ayes 61, noes 1. Message number 378, concurrence passed. House Bill number 65, 988, Suicide Prevention. Ayes 40, noes 22. Message number 379, conferees appointed for Joint Conference Committee number 1. Mr. Vice President, the House appointed House conferees to meet with a like committee number 1 from the Senate on amendments to Senate File 9. House conferees are Representative Larson, Chairman, Representative Provenza, and Representative Zwanitzer. Signed, Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
Standing committee reports.
February 17, 2023. Mr. Vice President, Committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom is referred House Bill 108, engrossed. Sale of THC vaping devices and edibles to minors prohibited. Respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Baldwin, Barlow, Bouchard, Dockstader, and Hutchings. Senator Baldwin, Chair. Mr. Vice President, Committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom is referred House Bill 140, Mental Health Care Access Collaborative Care Model. Respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Barlow, Baldwin, Bouchard, Dockstader, and Hutchings. Senator Baldwin, Chairman. Mr. Vice President, Committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 64, Legislative Stabilization Reserve Account Obligations. Respectfully report same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass, amended. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Guru, Kinski, Nethercutt, and Salazar. Senator Kinski, Chairman.
Mr. Majority Floor Leader, that clears the desk.
21st at 10 a.m.
Announcements.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes, sir.
so proceeding when we get done here, just in a few minutes, our staff has provided an ice cream social for us for our doorman and sometimes part-time cook who has achieved his 80th birthday, Mr. President. Hey!
Senator Anderson, would you grab the committee announcement off my desk, please? Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Your committee number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, will meet Tuesday, note the different day, Tuesday, February 21st, upon adjournment in Capitol Central Room W4, different room also, and online, to consider House Bill 199 engrossed, license plate decal, breast cancer awareness, House Bill 2 engrossed, town officer salary waiver, House Bill 286 ETS consolidation.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Senate Committee number 6, Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources, will meet Tuesday, February 21st at 8 o'clock a.m., our usual spot, W2 and online. We will consider House Bill 74, Wyoming Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund.
Senator Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Your committee number 7, Corporations, will meet Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. in W110. And we will take up House Bill 161, loan disclosures for guarantors and co-signers, and House Bill 270, improvement and service district limitations. In addition, I'd like to announce that your conference committee on House Bill 14, which is civil filing fees, and that will meet on the same day, Tuesday, at 12:30 p.m. in W113, and that's Senator Kolb and Senator Brennan are part of that conference committee. Thank you very much.
Senator Landon.
Mr. Vice President, thank you. Getting out ahead just a little bit, but wanted to let the Judiciary Committee and you know that we will meet next Wednesday morning at 8:30 to take up House Bill 128, voyeurism within enclosed spaces. And just as a note, Mr. Vice President, a week from Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning, the Judiciary Committee will be meeting to discuss interim topics. That's a week from Monday, but next Wednesday morning to take up voyeurism, House Bill 128.
Thank you. Senator Anderson.
Mr. Vice President, your Senate Appropriations Committee will meet Tuesday, February 21st upon noon recess in room 301 and online. We'll hear House Bill 208, School Foundation Program Reserve Account Investments that carried over from February 17th. Thank you.
Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Two early heads up. First one's your Labor, Health, and Social Services Committee, number 10, will meet Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. to hear House Bill 4, Medicaid 12-month postpartum coverage. Please study it all weekend, committee members. And we will also meet a week from Monday on February 27th at 8 a.m. in room 6 downstairs to discuss interim topics.
Senator Biden.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Your committee number 3, Revenue, will meet Tuesday, February 21st upon noon recess in Capitol Extension Room W6 and online to take up the following 2 bills. House Bill 98, Engross Property Tax Homeowners Exemption, and House Bill 124, Electricity Generation Taxation.
Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Your committee number 5, Agriculture and Public Lands, will meet next Tuesday upon adjournment, 15 minutes after adjournment, to in room 2 and online to work House Bill 17 and possibly 1 or 2 other bills. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. First, I'm glad to know that the chairman's taken up voyeurism. That's kind of an interesting deal. He might have stated it slightly different, but taking up voyeurism is a new occupation for the Senate, huh?
Senator Landon.
I didn't say we were looking into it. I just.
Last, I want to thank all of you. We're way ahead of schedule. Very likely we're going to be able to be done ahead of schedule for the first time. Once again, as other, you guys have done a phenomenal job. The very last is face down on the front table is the official portrait from last year. So all of you who were senators last year, sign your name on it before we hang it back on the wall. It's actually the front side's your pictures, but the back side you put your Senate deal and your signature on the back of it for history. They did that years ago, and we're starting it again. So let's get her done because it'll go back up before something happens. The House and the Senate have been known to steal each other's pictures when they're laying around. Have a great weekend, everybody.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The Senate shall stand recessed until Tuesday, 10 a.m.